Hey everyone! Welcome to the second and what turned out to be the last video on how to make this sketchbook. I thought there was going to be more in this series, but I was able to condense it into two so it's not like a long and drawn out process. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this reusable cover. So let's get started. You'll need a text block with long cording. Check out last week's video to see how to make one. Leather, scissors, a leather hole punch, sandpaper, gum tragacanth. There's an alternative that I use instead, which I will get into when I get to that step in the video. If you watched my previous leatherworking tutorials, you probably already know what it is. A burnishing dowel, also known as a slicker, a utility knife, leather finish, I'm doing a stain and then Reusable, a sponge, elastic, and a needle and thread. Cut your leather. You want it to be the height of the text block plus 1/8 of an inch by the width plus 1/8 of an inch plus the thickness of the leather. I forgot to add the thickness of the leather to my measurements, so later the text block stuck out of the side of the cover. I ended up having to trim the block down further so that it nestles into the cover nicely. From each edge, measure in the width of the text block plus 1/8 of an inch. You should have a sliver in the middle that's about the same size as your book's spine width. Cut a bevel along these marks, but make sure not to cut all the way through. Round the corners of the leather so that it matches your text block. Cut a slight bevel on the edges and then sand them. Apply the gum tragacanth on the edges. So I learned that you can get the same effect, or close to it, by using your saliva instead of having to go out and buy the gum stuff. I used this technique a while ago when I did a small leather project, and I didn't want to have to buy a whole jar of that gum stuff for the small project I was doing, which led me to finding out about the whole spit burnish thing. Anyway, it worked really well, so I just use that technique now. I understand some people may be grossed out by this, so if you are, there's always that gum tragacanth stuff, so you can use that instead. So anyway, use the burnishing tool or the slicker. I used a dowel that I filed a groove into, which worked well enough, and then rub the edge until it gets nice and shiny and smooth. Now burnish the rough side of the leather. I used a glass bottle from some nail polish that I had on my desk. You could also use a metal spoon to do this as well. Place your text block and mark where the cords will be. Before punching the holes, the cover needs to be shaped. Apply water along the scored lines, and then on the outside along the same area. Then fold the leather along each line. Be sure to wet both sides. For some reason, on one of these I only wet the inside, so when I folded it, it started to tear on the outside. Thankfully it's not too bad, but to avoid that, just make sure it's properly wet before folding. Let this sit until it's dry. About 1 inch in at the top and bottom of the back side of the cover, mark and cut out slits that are as wide as the elastic. And now I decided that I wanted to personalize this thing. I wrote out Cheslin on the front. Nothing too fancy. If I had leather stamps, I would have used those, but I don't, so I just used this metal tool to write, pressing in the letters, basically debossing it, I think is the word. And finally, cut out the holes along the spine with the hole punch tool. My hole punching tool didn't reach the middle holes, so I had to use my utility knife to get those. Once those are all punched out, finish the leather however you see fit. I kind of liked the look of it at this point. You were starting to be able to see kind of a little patina start to happen just from me working the leather and stuff. I think it could have been cool to just leave it in this raw state and then let it get like a really nice patina after using it for a while. I don't know, I think it could have been cool. But I also really wanted something really dark that was more like a moleskin. I wanted black, but I also didn't want to spend money on more leather dye when I already have like more than half of a bottle of some in my house already. So I just used the stain that I had, which was a like dark burgundy like wine color. So yeah, I stained it with that using a sponge. And then I repeated this a couple times so that it was as dark as I wanted. And then once dry, I covered both sides with a layer of Reusable to seal the leather. I think I was a little too heavy-handed with this. I was just scared that I was going to get streaking like I did with my traveler's journal a while back. So it's a little more like glossy than I wanted, but I'm hoping that after using it for a while, it'll kind of like get worn down a little bit. So we'll see. Once your cover is finished and dry, take a piece of elastic that's long enough to wrap around the text block and cover, and then thread it through the cover from the outside like so. Overlap the ends slightly and sew together. Before attaching the text block, I decided to add a little pocket thing to the back. On moleskins, they have a little pocket on the back cover, and I wanted to sort of mimic that. My book size ended up being almost exactly the size of a photo envelope, so I used one of those. I marked where the cords would go. Along the edge, I reinforced it with some washi tape. I have no idea if this will actually work out in the long run, but I guess we'll see. And then I punched the holes about 1/8 of an inch in. Thread the cording through the cover like so. My cording kept wanting to fray, so in order to keep it from doing that, I just used a little bit of glue and rubbed that on the ends, and then waited for that to dry, so then they just like easily slip through the holes. And here on the back, I threaded through the envelope first and then the cover. Flip the sketchbook around and tie knots along the spine. Cut off any excess cording. Oh, and before I draw anything, I wanted to jot down the date that the sketchbook was started. Ideally, when I'm done with this text block, I will put the end date, and yeah, hopefully it's not like my other sketchbooks where I will be signing the finished date like in 5 years or something. And well, there you have it, the finished sketchbook. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. If you make your own sketchbook like this, then I would love to see it. Use that hashtag up here, I think it is, CheslinDIY, on Instagram and Twitter. I check those every so often. I love to see what you guys do. And also tag me. That's like probably the easiest way to like show me what you've done. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make this thing. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all of that good stuff. You can follow me on all of my social media, which will be linked down below. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much to my patrons for helping me produce this video. If you like my videos and have learned something from them, please consider supporting me on Patreon to help me continue to make them. It's totally optional. I'll still be making videos either way. It just helps me be able to put out better stuff. A link will be down below, or you can just click up here in the corner.